What does the recovery model look like today?
The recovery model has grown a great deal over the last 2 decades. It began as an outsider movement, began with the consumer movement, and has moved on to now be very mainstream. There's a President's Commission about the recovery movement. There's a Mental Health Services Act in California here funding the recovery movement. There's a number of states doing recovery movements, SAMHSA, the VA, moving along. And at this point, although it's a very scattered around the system, it is every bit as sophisticated as the standard system of care. It includes the experiences people have in recovery. It includes the relationships between the providers and the people who are receiving care. It includes who's doing the providing of care and where they're doing it, what the system looks like and what the funding looks like, what the values behind it are like. At this point, recovery is not just a set of slogans and values. It is now a very sophisticated program for how to help people with things. There's a number of people who say they're doing recovery. They put a sign on the wall and say, we're a recovery program now, and do the same thing. They say, that's not different. That isn't recovery. So I think you should look for 3 things when you're looking for, is this really recovery, is this really different? And the 3 things are, one is this person-centered instead of illness-centered? Do all of the services still have to do with treating your illness, making sure you have medication, making sure you have a diagnosis, making sure you're complying with treatment? Or do the services have to do with helping you rebuild a better life? Is all of you included there? Your strengths and your weaknesses, your hopes, dreams, your goals? Is things included about where you're going to live, where you're going to work, who are going to be friends, who's going to be family, what about spirituality? Or is it all just focused on the illness? Recovery programs are not just about treating an illness, they're about helping a person rebuild their whole life. Second thing to look for that's different in these programs is recovery programs move from being professionally driven to being client driven. Standard medical care, I went to medical school for a very long time, I'm very experienced. I'll give you the benefit of my experience, I'll tell you what to do and you follow my directions and I'll check your compliance and see if your life gets better as a result. Recovery says none of us are obedient enough to do that for more than about 2 weeks. So if you're actually going to progress in recovery with a long-term serious mental illness that's affected your whole life, you're going to have to take a strong role in what's happening in your own recovery and your own treatment. Your goals are going to have to drive the process. We're going to have to do some shared decision making. We're going to have to do some collaboration. Sometimes I'll be following along doing things with you I don't exactly agree with, and sometimes you'll be following along with me doing things you don't exactly agree with. It's more a partnership and a collaboration, which is real different than the standard medical model. The third thing to look for in a recovery system that's different is it really strengths-based instead of deficits-based? Do you spend all your time talking about what's wrong, what kind of symptoms, what kind of barriers, what kind of things in the way, and let's fix all of your problems and get to help by fixing problems? Or do we say what's right about you? What are your strengths? Do you bring a strong self-esteem, a big work ethic, a belief in yourself, a good family, a spiritual background, some money along, a good place to live? What do you bring along? Because recovery is not cure. Almost all of these illnesses people have, they cannot be cured. The next psychosis is coming, the next manic episode, the next drug relapse, the next rape flashback. And the question isn't, can we make that never happen to you? The question is, can we make it so when it does happen, you're ready for it and it doesn't ruin your life? You stay held together, you don't end up in a hospital, you keep your job, you keep your family, you keep your kids, you keep your relationship even when those things happen. Did we build the strength in you to handle your life, rather than you relied on me to fix all the wrong things with you? Those 3 things taken together, is it really person-centered instead of illness-centered? Is it really collaborative and client-driven instead of professional-driven? And is it really strengths-based and resiliency-driven rather than deficit-based? You should find in any true recovery program, and that's what distinguishes it from other good, compassionate medical model care.
All right.